What's up, guys? It's me, Lumos Ceramax, and I've decided to cover some content real quick. I'm not going to review the entire issue. If you want to read issue 7 of Green Lantern in 2021 run, feel free. More power to you. It's a pretty good banger, especially the first half. But we're here to talk about some really crazy shit, okay? There's been a lot of weird attention with John Stewart and the New Gods in the last few chapters. And we haven't really gotten anything solid in terms of anything crazy popping off or anything valuable, but then this chapter, like, we did have one weird flashback with Ganthet, I want to say back in, like, issue 2 or 3, where he was trying to remember this moment with Ganthet, where he and Ganthet were talking back and forth. So he says, I essentially can't stop your ascension, but I can remove, or I can hide it, I think is the best thing he could do. And that Ganthet popped off on John Stewart, but then, like, the scene changed, we didn't really know what was going on. But then we finally get our answers here in this chapter specifically, where this new god of journeys basically is taking John Stewart on a journey through life and experience and everything. But the thing that's really weird is he showed up one time earlier to kind of help him out against this crazy threat. It was whatever. But he grabs John, and keep in mind, John at this point in time has no Green Lantern ring. There's only like 2 or 3 rings in the whole universe that work. So John gets teleported away to essentially a war between the forces of Apocalypse and the forces of Highfather. And John's like, yo, what the hell? This is like ancient history. How are we here? And he says, well, I'm a new god of time. I exist to kind of help people go through journeys, and this is your place. This is, like, your destiny leads here. He says, well, like, wait a minute, I don't want to fuck up anything here. And she says, don't worry, I'm the new god of journeys. It doesn't work on me. And Hegra, who's the current leader of the forces of Apocalypse, is popping off on everyone. But as we can see, the forces of Highfather don't just include new gods. It turns out the Malthusians were actually invited to this battle. The Malthusians being the people who eventually become the guardians of the universe. And they're actually going like pretty ham in this battle between new gods and Highfather's forces and Apocalypse. And as a matter of fact, he creates this weapon that just analyzes one of them, and then he passes that information on to all the other Malthusians. And all the other Malthusians basically are like, just start one-shotting new gods regardless of what side they're on. And Ganthet pops off on the whole crowd. He says, hey, yo, fuckos, like, I've had enough of you shit. You guys are just beings that draw on metaphysical energies from our space, and it's getting tiresome. Like, we've had enough of your shit. And he basically just starts beating up all of the new gods present. This is pretty wild. And keep in mind, these are much younger new gods. They scale much harder later on. But it's crazy to see how, like, insane Ganthet really is in this moment in time. But he says, yo, I'm just gonna put an end to all you guys. And in the middle of this, Darkseid rolls up. And Darkseid says, yo, Darkseid, fire up the soul cannon, bro. And he fires up this weapon, which just starts murdering Malthusians and gods alike. And John Stewart, watching this, says, yo, this is like crazy as could be. He's killing everyone, and just jumps out and just starts throwing hands with young Darkseid, bro. He just starts fist fighting him. And so Darkseid's like, yo, the fuck you mean? He just turns on the gun on John Stewart. Just fires on John Stewart, bro. He just goes to gun his ass down. And then once the dust finally clears, we hear John actually reaching out to that lonar guy, that new god of journeys. And he says, yo, what is happening to me, man? And he's like glowing and has all this crazy emerald energy all around him, or like in the form of his body, like he's a being of pure energy. And then suddenly he just disappears. And we hear that lonar, that new god of journeys, say, yo, this was the fork in your path, John, and it's time to move on. So it looks like he was pressuring him to either make the decision to jump out and become this being or not do that. But the decision was John's either way. And we return back to the spaceship we started on, which originally was titled as a quest to, you know, get Kilowog, as the issue art did kind of imply. But so they're on their way to go rescue Kilowog, and they kind of got done with their soul-searching journey. And John's asking him, yo, what the hell is happening? What's going on? What is this power? And Lonar looks at him and says, it's your evolution, and it's waited for way too long. John has ascended into some new level of power that the next chapter calls Lightbringer. So maybe we'll have some new amped version of John with some level of Lifebringer form. But the thing that's very notable is, keep in mind, he still has no lantern ring upon returning, implying that this power may be John Stewart's unto himself, like a unique power of him. And in terms of raw speculation, if we're really getting speculative, this power may be like the collective idea of willpower on a higher level. Kind of like we're seeing beings ascend to their higher forms and stuff. Kind of like we had like Necron out there, or like Upside Down Man that exists out there, or like Darkseid who ascended to his ultimate form and now exists on a level that's, you know, messing with like the Omniverse, man. I don't know. There's just a lot going on there, in all honesty. But I'm curious to see what's happening with John Stewart and what they want to do with removing him from like just being a normal Green Lantern. Or at least maybe giving him a way to kind of use Green Lantern powers, since most rings are effectively gone. But the real question is, at the end of the day, is John Stewart becoming a more powerful Lantern than Hal Jordan? As this series continues, we might genuinely start to have to ask that question. Let me know what you think down below, guys. It's been fun. Later, Lanterns.